Everybody's talking to me out in the wilderness, say, only the echoes of the night. Don't know why the sun keeps shining through the pouring rain. All right. I had a lot of friends ask me to do some guitar lessons while everybody's home with the coronavirus here. So I figured, what the hell, let's give it a shot. I mean, if you got sitting around, you might as well put your guitar to use. So what I'd like to do is teach a little bit about how to play kind of folk rock guitar. So there's many different styles of guitar. There's jazz, there's classical, there's bluegrass, there's blues, which I could teach because I got my electric guitars back there. But I'm just going to teach basic rock and folk. And the thing to understand about playing the guitar, if you want to be a decent guitarist, is that you're best off starting on the acoustic, because the acoustic guitar is harder to play than the electric. Your hands are going to hurt. It requires a lot of strength. But if you want to be a real guitarist, learn how to play the acoustic guitar first. I could also teach metal guitar and blues, again, using those guitars back there, but we're going to start with this guitar. And what kind of guitar is this? There's basically two kinds of acoustic guitars. One is this kind, which is a steel string, kind of folk rock guitar. The strings are made out of steel. I think they're steel. Nice bright sound. The other kind is a classical guitar, where the strings are made out of nylon, and the tuning pegs look a little bit different on those, and that's for playing classical music. And the steel string guitar is a little bit harder to play. Your fingers are going to hurt, but you're going to be a rocker after you're done building up your calluses. The nylon string guitar is a little bit softer, but it's not nearly as bright. So what are the things that you need? First of all, you need a decent guitar. One of the most important things is don't get a cheap guitar. And the reason is cheap guitars go out of tune and they're hard to play. There's nothing more frustrating than sounding like crap because your guitar keeps going out of tune. So if you buy a cheap guitar, like under $250, the guitar is going to go out of tune constantly, even in the middle of a song. Don't waste your money because you'll sound like crap and you'll think there's something wrong with you. Get a guitar that's at least $250, probably more like $350. And your guitar also should have decent action. If you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it here, but the strings, it's called action. The strings are pretty close, I don't know, a couple of millimeters, pretty close to the neck here, so that when you fret the guitar, it's very easy to press it out and do a chord. As a beginner, you do not want to have bad action on your guitar. The other thing you'll need is a guitar tuner. I can show you how to tune the guitar, but I'm not, because there's plenty of things online that show you how to do that. You can get yourself a guitar tuner like one of these, or there's tuner apps on your iPhone, iPad, or Android, and a guitar pick here. This is I use rock guitar picks, which are 1 millimeter guitar picks, which are good for nice, solid, strong guitar picks, which are good for playing rock because they don't flex. Or you can get like a 0.5 millimeter guitar pick, which is very soft, which is good for light strumming, or 0.7 millimeter, which is kind of in between. So the style that I'm going to show here is singing and playing chords on the guitar. I'm not going to show how to do leads, like this kind of bluesy, heavy metal, like Black Sabbath. I'm going to show how to do basic strumming and playing chords so you can sing, or you can sing with other people. So there's many different things I can show you, but the idea here is I'm just going to show some of the basics. These are things that when you learn them, you got a good 6 months to a year of work to do to master them. And they're the basis of playing all kinds of rock and rhythm guitar. It's always best to be a good rhythmist and to get your natural body's rhythm and your natural inclination for rhythm and find it yourself, right? So the first thing I'm going to show is chords. So an example of a chord is, here's a chord. The guitar is in the key of E. So I have another series, piano lessons, where I show what are the notes. And if you don't know anything about music, there's 7 notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and there's sharps and flats. And rather than go over that here, I got a lesson on the piano which will show you about that, and you can apply a lot of that to the guitar. But what is a chord? Example of a chord is this. That is a chord. That's an E major chord. That is your basic chord on the guitar. After you tune your guitar, you want to know if your guitar is in tune. Well, you use the tuner, but it's always nice to hit an E chord and go, oh, wow, it sounds nice in tune. That's a chord. So songs are made out of chords. And there's basically several different types of chords. And I'm going to show you initially just two of them. And the first set of chords you always learn are they're called open chords. And they're called open chords because some of the strings remain open. So for example, if I hit a D chord here, you'll notice I'm only putting my fingers on 3 of the strings. The other string is open. If I don't finger it, it sounds like this. The guitar doesn't sound like anything if you hold it open. Okay. So let's go over just a few of the open chords. Now, there are limited number of open chords. There are certain chords you cannot play in an open position, but you can play them using the second type of chord, which is a bar chord, which I'll show later. And the bar chords are related to the open chords. So you always want to start with your open chords so that you can use those few chords to learn how to fret the guitar, to build up your strength, and to just get used to playing the guitar and develop a basic set of rhythm. So the first thing I want to illustrate is that whenever you're looking at how to finger the guitar, you can't exactly see what I'm fingering here precisely. So I'm going to use chord charts, little charts like these, which can show you how you actually finger the guitar. So you'll notice that there are 6 strings on the guitar. It's called a 6-string, and the strings are starting with the lowest one, E, A, D, G, B, E. How are you going to remember that? Well, we have a mnemonic for that. Every animal does good before eating. Every animal does good before eating, right? There's only 6 strings. Eventually, you'll remember those 6. And if you look at the chord chart, there are 6 lines on the chord chart, and each one of those lines corresponds to one of the notes on the strings. E, A, D, G, B, E. Okay? And the other items on the chord charts, these perpendicular ones, are frets, and they correspond to these things. They're called frets. So one of the most important things to learn is that when you fret the guitar, the note will change, and you put your finger in between the frets, not on the frets, in between the frets, because what you're doing, for example, if I hit an E here, if I hit the first fret, it's an F. So don't worry about the actual notes. We can go over that another time. But if I hit an E and I fret it, I go in the middle, right there in the middle. And what I'm doing is I'm shortening the string. Because the string, instead of stopping here, stops there, right on the fret. Okay, so you push it down and it'll stop right there. So you can put it anywhere in between here and you get the fret. And you'll notice it might be a little bit hard to press it. And you'll notice that there's many frets on the guitar, but the first thing to know is that there is something called an octave, which if you notice the dots on these things, there's a special set of frets right here. There's 2 dots here. This is called the octave. And you'll notice that there's exactly 12 frets in between here and there. And it's an octave like this. Do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, 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 do. That's an octave. And it turns out, if you get out your tape measure, that you'll notice that the distance between this fret and the end of the bridge and here is exactly the same. This fret cuts the length of the string exactly in half. So the string will vibrate at exactly twice the frequency, which is exactly what an octave is. So every time I hit a fret, you can see it on the chord chart. So for example, if I want to indicate that there's a chord where I want to put my finger on the high E string, on the 3rd fret, it's right here. And I've got a little chord actually I can play, but only if I play, in this particular case, I'm going to play a G chord. But it's a G chord with a D bass, and I'm only going to hit 4 of the strings. It's a very simple chord, and it goes like this. Just watch, I'm going to put my pick here on the 4th string and just go like that. It's actually a G chord, that's a G, but it's got a D bass. If I take my finger off here, I get nothing. But the simplest chord is I fret here, and I'm playing a G chord with a D bass. Okay? We'll get back to that particular chord. But now let's go over the standard open chords. These are the most difficult things you're going to learn, and the most important, because you're learning chords, you're learning how to fret the guitar, and your fingers are going to hurt like hell for like 3 to 4 months. And you're going to build up calluses, and then pretty soon it's not going to hurt again, and your calluses will be permanent, provided that you play the guitar periodically. Okay, so now let's not worry too much about what the chords mean. I got a piano video for that. Just remember these chords. There's only 7 of them, right? As far as open chords go, I think there's only 5, because several of them, like an F, we cannot play in an open position. An F is like this, right? We can't play that in an open position. I'll explain that in a bit. So just remember these chords. I will show the chord charts while we do them. So the very first chord we're going to learn is the E chord. And we're going to do major chords first. And then that's your basis of music, is your major chords. And then we're going to show variations on the major chords. And again, this is the most important thing you're going to learn. It's the basis for everything when it comes to playing this kind of guitar. So look at the fret while I do this. I'm going to play an E chord. As I played before, that is your basic chord. And you'll notice that I'm only fretting 3 of the strings. 5th string here, 4th string there. Watch my fingers. And 2nd string there. And remember, you see the numbers here? They indicate which finger I'm using. 2, I rarely use the thumb, so 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are my fingers. So I'm going to fret it like this, 3, 4, 2, and I'm going to leave this string open because it's an E. I'm going to leave this string open and that string open. So I'm hitting all 6 strings, and I get a nice. Now, you may find it very hard to do this, but if you do it over and over again, and remember, you're not holding your fingers flat, you're holding them up like that. You're trying to get them kind of like that. Not like that, but kind of like that. So this is the kind of thing where, even your very first lesson, hit this E chord, and there's so many things you can practice. One is you can sit in front of the TV, and for hours and days and weeks, whatever it takes, you just keep doing this until you get a nice sound like that. Now do it with your guitar pick, and also always practice a rhythm and practice, be at one with the instrument. Right out of the gate. The idea is to learn how to become one with the instrument and take your natural rhythm, whatever it is, and feel that you can express yourself through the guitar. So take your guitar pick, go like this, and then remember, you can strum in both directions, up and down, and just go back and forth and see what you can do. You can go. So many things you can do. So many ways to strum. I can even pop it up and go like that. Now watch my right hand. My right hand, I can go like that, or I can muff the guitar. I could even drop the pick. I can even let go of the pick. I can use my fingers, and I can get a different sound. I chant, but I put a different chord in there. So literally, you could spend just weeks and weeks developing your own style in doing this. Okay, that's the E chord. I think we have 4 more to go. I should have counted them before I started the video. Okay, so the next one, let's do the A chord, right? The A chord is a very simple chord, and in this case, we're going to skip the E string because the A string is right here. That's the low string. Again, you don't need to worry about why these notes are what they are. My piano video will show you that. But in this case, you're going to kind of hit these 3 strings. It's these 3 on the 2nd fret, and there's various ways to do that. You can put 3 fingers like this. You can take 1 finger like that. What I do is I kind of go like that. So you're going to hit the bass note, the A bass note, and you're going to skip the E note and hit all 5 of the 6 strings. You have 2 open strings. My guitar's getting a little out of tune already. I think I need to replace my strings. Okay, so that's the A chord. Like that. So practice that one. And remember, you are not hitting the low string. This is pretty important. This may seem very, very difficult at first, but you will learn how to do it. you can either just hit it like that, really stick it in between these strings like that, but eventually you don't have time to stick it in there. Eventually you'll just figure it out. And watch this. Look how I can hit it. I can just kind of go. I can go back to the E. Practice that. Now it turns out E and A are fifths. These chords are related to each other. There's a whole way you organize chords together, which I won't really get into. But when something, just put an earworm in there. When something is a fifth, right? Again, my piano videos will show this. They go really well together because they complement each other. So a lot of songs are written in fifths. E, A. Okay. So that's the E chord, the E major chord. Now we got a few more. Let's do the D chord. Okay? This is the chord that Neil Young loves using. For some reason, Neil Young does a lot of songs in D, key of D. So I showed you the D chord earlier. I actually played my introduction song with the D chord. And this one, you're only going to hit 4 of the strings. So again, look at the way I fret it. I put my ring finger here. I put this finger here, my middle finger here, and my index finger there. And you're going to, again, find this very difficult. When you do it, it's probably going to sound like this. Right? But if you push hard and you work on it, you're probably going to look at it and go, how the heck does somebody do that? But believe me, you will figure out how to do it. So this one, you're starting, again, you're skipping these 2 strings, and you're starting on the D. Because generally, when you do a chord, you want your tonic note, which is your root note, which is D. Remember, E, A, D. You want that to be the lowest note, generally. Not always, but generally. So I'm going to fret this, and I'm going to hit just these 4 strings. And a nice, beautiful sound. D is a lovely, lovely, lovely chord. And what I was doing before is I was hitting a variation on D when I played that song. I'll show you those variations in a moment. That's the D chord. We got 2 more left. The other one is the G chord. Let's do the G chord, right? The G, there's various ways to play this. This is typically how the G chord is played. Remember, before we played a G chord like this, but now we're going to add the bass notes like that. So the way we fret it is we put our 3rd finger here, our 2nd finger here, and our ring finger there. Again, these are not easy to do, but you will get it in practice. You get a nice G chord. In this case, we do all 6 strings because we have our G bass note right here. Okay? And the final one is the C chord. The C chord is another one of these chords where we don't hit all the notes. C chord is like this. Put our ring finger here. Which finger is this? Our middle finger there. Our 3rd finger and our 2nd finger there. And go like this. It's a C chord. You don't hit the low note right there. I actually play it like this. I actually put my pinky right here. And this is a G. It's not the C note, because you generally want the C to be in the bass. Right? The C note, this is the C note right here to be in the bass. But sometimes you want to hit a 5th. A G is, again, the 5th. Always think of 5ths. The 5th of a C is a G. You can look it up. Look up circle of 5ths online. Right? So you get a nice G chord there. So again, in summary, the things to remember is there's 5 basic open chords, and I'll just show you the major versions. And always know where your bass note is, right? Bass note is always on the bottom. The bass note is always the same as the chord. E chord, E bass note. D chord, D bass note. A chord, A bass note on the 5th string. G chord, G bass note over here. And C chord, C bass note. Optionally, you can put a G bass note. Okay? So those are only 5 chords. So practice those chords over and over again until you can fret them completely so they sound like this instead of... I can't even make them sound bad like that. Keep trying over and over again. And practice your rhythm. And remember, up and down, and practice stopping the strings like this. You can even lift it up. Practice literally lifting up some of these. A lot of guitarists, they literally... You can do all kinds of kooky stuff. See? You can literally lift some of these up. I'll show you what those mean. Okay? So that's your basic open chords.